What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talk Trash for Fightful Overbooked with a new show called Loving Wrestling. Basically, I want to know, why do people in the wrestling community love wrestling? So each week or each month, I'm going to be joined by a guest to talk about why they love wrestling. And for our first episode, we've got someone who is basically royalty in the Fightful community. We are joined by Rob Wilkins. So how are you doing today, Rob?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thanks for that introduction. I wasn't really expecting royalty there, but thank you. That I appreciate that.
So if we take this back, my friend, do you remember the moment that you first was like, I love wrestling. This is my thing now.
Yeah, you know that what did it. So, growing up, like I liked wrestling, like I liked it, with all like being in the elementary school here, like I liked it. And, seeing like Hulk Hogan go after his $1 million man Ted DiBiase, and he had the Ultimate Warrior running down the aisle, and just the cool different tag teams like Demolition, Legion of Doom, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, or Hart Foundation, and the Rockers. You just had all these different tag teams and Demolition. But the moment I absolutely fell in love with wrestling, and I knew that I had an emotional attachment to it, and this was the day that he actually became my favorite wrestler, was when I rented a tape. I couldn't find a movie like at our video store, Blockbuster. It
Mm.
was the closest video store, Blockbuster Video, and I couldn't find a movie to rent. And I always knew that, hey, I always enjoyed getting wrestling tapes when I was a kid. Like Royal Rumble was one I'd always get. So I'm like, you know what? It's been a few years. I'll just get, I'll get this. And I just grabbed the tape. I'm like, and it was the wrong tape behind the box. Um, I was planning on getting one of the Royal Rumbles, but they had the wrong tape behind the box. So I watched it. It's titled Whack 'em and Smack 'em, I believe, the from Coliseum Home Video,
Mm.
and it featured Bret Hart versus Ric Flair for the WWF title. Now I'm expecting Ric Flair to win this match, but I got pretty like emotionally attached because I'm like, Bret Hart's doing really good, and I like this guy because he was part of the Hart Foundation. And I was shocked to see that he won the title. And that was when I realized that I absolutely loved it. And that was my moment. That got me into wrestling. Um, that was it.
So if I was to ask you, because something that maybe I forgot to put in the email, and that's my bad, was I want three things from historical wrestling you love and three things from the current product. If I
Oh,
was
okay.
to ask you for your first historical thing, would that be one of them?
Yeah, from a historical part, yeah. Like that I can recall and started. That's when I knew I wanted to go back and look at other stuff that maybe I might have missed.
Mm.
That was when I had interest in knowing more. Um, I mean, I remember like from a historical standpoint for me, I remember the first time I ever saw wrestling, and I think I've even told you this. My
Mm.
moment was when I saw Andre the Giant on TV for the first time. Like I see this giant of a man, and I have no idea what this thing is. I didn't know you could be even that big. Um, and that was my first moment seeing it from a historical standpoint. But it would go to those two, and then the third one's kind of crazy, but it was probably a WCW event when I saw um, a steel cage match on. Actually, it might not have been WCW. It might have been the organization that the Von Erichs were part of in Dallas,
Mm.
Texas. Um, it could have been there because I remember the event took place at Texas Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys used to play, and it
Yeah.
was a steel cage match with Ric Flair in it. And I think I want to say it was Dusty Rhodes, I believe.
Oh, Star was it a Starcade?
That was one of them. That was one that. No, it wasn't Starcade, I don't believe.
Oh.
So
I was
I don't
trying to
believe it was
be a
Starcade.
wrestling
I
historian there.
no, I think it was it man, it'll come to me here soon, but that might have been it. I mean, that was the first time I ever saw a steel cage match. And I like saw blood, and I was pretty young, and
Mm,
it wasn't live when I watched it. Um, but it was just something that like caught my eye, and I was just like, what in the world is this? I need more of this. And I was at that young age where um it might have been, oh man, no, where was this? Hmm. Um, I actually don't know. Like, I can't remember how bad that is. Like how long ago that was and stuff like that. I just remember it was just I see it and I watched it, and I just it just caught my eye, and it was one of those things where I fell in love. Like, that was one of the moments for me. Um,
mm,
that just did it for me, and it's been there ever since. Um, and I'm looking here now just to make sure, and um, it might not even been Dallas, Texas. I just thought it was, but um, it looks like it might have been a show in Virginia. Just based on the years I'm looking, it might have been a NWA show, so that would have been WCW era. Um,
okay.
so well, NWA actually. I mean, so yeah, so it would have been, yeah, it would have been. So yeah, Jim Crockett Promotions. So
Mm,
yeah,
okay.
so Jim Crockett Promotions. So yeah, that was around the time frame because I was about 6 or 7 years old. Like, I remember seeing that like steel cage match and at one time, but that didn't like do it for me until like later on. After that Bret Hart match, I started thinking back about all my wrestling memories.
Mm,
But the Bret Hart's what set it off, and he's been my favorite wrestler ever since.
mm. So you talked about there Bret Hart being your favorite wrestler. Was he someone that you loved every time that he was on the card? Was you like, yep, there's a Bret Hart match on this card. I'm gonna watch this.
Absolutely. And I also graded that card as a good pay-per-view or a bad pay-per-view if he won. I loved it. It was, or I considered it a good pay-per-view. If he lost, like WrestleMania 12, I'll give you an example where he lost to Shawn Michaels Iron Man match. I've
Mm-hmm.
only watched that match one time.
Okay.
So I have no desire to ever watch it again. So if somebody like wanted to do a review of that match, I would actually say, not doing that one. I've promised myself I would never watch that match again. It's just the way I am.
Is
I've
it
watched,
just is it due to the fact that he lost?
yeah, I don't, I like Survivor Series 97. I won't watch that again either.
Okay.
It's just the way I've been like as a kid. I know what happened, so I don't want to see it. I know that's ridiculous now as an adult because, but this just like, I kind of feel like I owe it to myself as a kid just to like, hey, that's how you were. Just keep it going. Like of that part of wrestling was who you were then, and let's keep that part of it because now the different aspects of everything, and
Mm.
that's just one way to keep myself, I guess, humble in a way.
I know
um
what you mean.
yeah, so
So it's
it's one
almost
of those
like,
things.
to quote the Ric Flair retirement video package, to
Yeah,
leave the memories alone, sort of thing.
yeah. No, and I say that, but if I mean, let's be honest here, if somebody's going to pay me to watch it, hell yeah, I'm going to watch it. So
Yeah, fair
it's just,
enough.
I'm just not going to go out of my way to watch it is what I'm saying.
No, I understand what you mean. So you talked about there why you loved wrestling as a kid and three moments you loved as a kid. Where is your current fandom at?
um Oh, it's up there. I mean, I know like the thing is a lot of people, I mean, a lot of us are known like on Twitter, like people see us on Twitter and stuff like on like the wrestling media side. That's how we mainly talk to each other and people see us, and I get that. but I don't talk about like a lot of the wrestling I watch, because I know most people just don't seem to really care. I've noticed. So, but
Okay.
like try to watch everything. I watch Stardom. I love the fact that people are watching Dragon Gate now.
Mm.
Because I've loved Dragon Gate for years. That makes me really happy to see that they're very popular right now. Um, so that makes me good. Stardom is great. Is something I've always enjoyed. But yeah, wrestling right now has been just fantastic. I love it. I think all like AEW is fantastic. I like seeing I like seeing I like people being loyal to what they like, but I also think they take it a little too far sometimes. There's a
Yeah, I would
difference
agree.
between Yeah, there's a difference between being loyal to a company, and then there's also a difference of where you can just be just a I mean an awful person. Like
Mm.
if you're an awful person and you're defending, like, no matter what WWE does or what AEW does, I just you can defend your company all you want, your favorite company, but once you start calling people names and stuff like that, and you're calling people idiots, and you're just insulting them, telling them they should do this to themselves or do that to themselves or do this to their mother. No, that's not what the fandom's all about. And
And that's not loving wrestling, to
yeah,
bring it back.
that's like a jealousy type thing. And
Yeah.
um yeah, that's not it for me, and I have no use for that. So I think having loyalty to a company is fine. I don't have My loyalty went out the window for um companies when I started getting paid to
Yeah.
watch wrestling. I I go into it with an open mind. Now there's always going to be like things that you look at differently, and there will still be wrestlers that you pull for, but I also look at it from a business perspective now before I look at it from the way my
Mm.
heart does. So that's the biggest thing. But I love the business. I watch it. I will. I can't stand to say that I watch it, but I watch NWA right now, and it drives me nuts. Um,
Mm.
it's not a great product at times. There's certain wrestlers that I absolutely love in there, and then there's
Mm.
a couple that it's just like it's never the wrestler's fault. I want to make that clear right now. It's
Yeah.
never on the wrestlers. It's the storytelling. Um, Even if I don't respect a wrestler's opinions outside of the ring, that I don't care about that. I'm care about what they're doing in the ring. And
Yeah.
um even the in-ring stuff for NWA, like, it hasn't been the best. But with that in mind, they've had some really good stuff too, so I give them the benefit of the doubt. Um so it's just one of those things where I don't ever I should rephrase that. I don't always blame the the writing staff or the bookers. Occasionally there's some stuff, like some wrestlers will have like really bad form, but it's very, very rare. I think 98% of the time, 99% of the time, you'll only see me like complain about a wrestler once, like,
Mm.
out of 100 times. It doesn't happen often. And I've just noticed that it's happened with NWA more than once on occasion. And it's dropped my average down a little bit. But the thing is I know they're trying, so that makes me a little bit happy about it.
Mm.
So as long as they're trying to do their best and they're trying to make it entertaining, that's really all you can ask for. And I look at it from my standpoint of who am I to say what's perfect and stuff. I never trained to be a wrestler, and I don't. But it's just one of those things.
I understand what you're saying completely. But you brought up there something very interesting, that you stopped picking sides when it comes to wrestling when you started getting paid to review wrestling. So did that change your love of the business at all?
No, it really didn't. It actually made me appreciate it more, because I looked at it from a standpoint of watching. more watching the performers to see what they could do, and it made it more interesting for me because I could tell from a standpoint when certain wrestlers were going to be getting a push, like not necessarily because they were getting booked to win matches. I'm talking like I could tell by they're getting more squash matches, like they're getting put in the ring, and granted they're losing 3 out of 4 matches, but they're getting ring time compared to what they were getting, which tells me that Tony's actually going to put them on. I'm giving Tony Khan an example, which tells me Tony Khan's actually going to put them on Dynamite or Rampage pretty soon
Yeah.
in a match, and then I'll see them there, and then we'll continue to see them. And I've noticed that, like I've noticed that with a couple of people, um, and that's good because I can tell that like with my writing, and it helps me remember like when I write stories, like um, and that's something that I take great pride in. I'll give an example. Sky Blue is somebody I could tell that she's going to be wrestling on Dynamite pretty soon, even though she's on Dark right now. I knew that she was going to be coming up and start wrestling on the main card. Uh, there's a couple other people, so it it
Mm.
it's changed. It has, and I like it for the better. I mean, it's not because I get paid that I like it for the better, because don't tell Sean. I sometimes think I'd do this for free. Um, but it's just because I love this business. I mean, I wanted to do this for years, and the the it's just something I love, the and it's made me appreciate things. I think what did it really was COVID, the Thunderdome era.
Okay.
I couldn't stand it. Like I could not stand the wrestling, and that was with both companies. It just wasn't the same without the audience. So I
Yeah.
knew I had to change my mindset watching it and watch the performers instead of thinking about the crowd. So what I would usually do is I would actually mute the TV and watch. I wouldn't listen to Michael Cole or Excalibur call a match. I would watch it and try to not necessarily do it myself, but I would do it in my head. And I'm like, okay, he's doing a collar elbow tie up, he's throwing them into the ropes. And I would try to watch it from that standpoint and trying to figure out what they would do next. Um, and I started enjoying it more when I did that. And
Mm.
that's what did it, like just following it that way for a while. That helped me a lot because uh I started respecting the business even more because I could I could just see what how hard it was for those guys to do what they were doing, and that got my respect. So even we were talking about it on a recording of coexisting that I do, coexisting after dark, that Bailey was an MVP of the whole Thunderdome era. Like she
100%,
was a
definitely.
big star of that, and um, it's just wow, just wow. So
Yeah. So you brought up there, obviously, podcasting, coexisting after dark, and podcasting for Fightful. How does being on camera and stuff help you or hinder your love for wrestling?
at first I was absolutely terrified at first. Um, the first time I ever was on camera with Fightful was for the um, Talking Shop Mania 2.
Mm-hmm.
I was a huge I'm still a huge fan of the Good Brothers. I think they're awesome. I think because I think they're just normal. I look at those two guys as guys I could hang out with. Like
Yeah.
I literally could just hang out, and I don't drink, but they're two guys like even if I didn't drink, I could just basically shoot the shit with them because
Yeah.
they seem like my kind of guys, and I've always liked that. And that was the show where I asked Sean, I'm like, hey, I know you're planning on doing a watch along him and Jeremy Lambert. I go, I know I was a YouTube moderator at that time, and I was doing some background, I was doing some Facebook social media work for him, and I said, hey, if you want another person, I would love to do this because I'm a huge fan of everybody of those guys. Of
Mm.
Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, and I'd love to do this. And he's like, absolutely, come on. And I did that. I was so nervous um, to do that show, but it was worth it. It was good.
Mm.
But
So what?
over time, it just oh sorry,
No, no,
over time
continue,
it
man.
just got yeah over time it just got better. I did I wanted to do my own show forever, so it
Mm.
took me about a year after that, almost a year, if not a little bit longer. I talked to my co-host Maggie, um, because I would do watch-alongs with Fightful, and I talked to Maggie, who was occasionally on those, and I'm like, okay, well, she's awesome, and I needed a different podcast. I didn't want to be the two. I didn't think there needed to be another podcast with two white guys, like a 40-year-old white guy or a 30 or a 20. I wanted to be different.
Yeah.
And there weren't many podcasts with a man and a woman on it, And I thought she was absolutely great. I think she was hilarious. And I figured like if I can get her to do a podcast with me, I think it'd be great. And she she had interest in it, but she didn't want to do it right away. She wanted to think about it. And over time she agreed. And when we did our first episode, we recorded it on Fightful Select. I think we had a total of 22 viewers after it was all said and done that first week. I was nervous as I could be, and then kept going. And we finally went over to Fightful Overbooked, did our first show on there. I was nervous because it was our first live show.
Mm.
And after doing that first live show, I felt pretty good. And then I joined Sean Ross Sapp for the night that the MJF stuff came out about the plane ticket. I joined him
Okay.
on the podcast that he was doing that night, like a breaking news one. And we had that was one of our largest podcasts ever. I think it's still in our top 3 or top 5, like something like that.
Okay.
And I had thousands of people watching me. So that did it right there. Like that made it easier for me. It did. It made it a lot more easier. And I now it's for the most part I can do it without I'm not nervous. I'm good to go.
Mm. So you talked about there not being nervous and your love of podcasting, but I am curious to know, what do you love outside of wrestling and podcasting that people may not know?
Like are you talking like hobby wise or are you just talking
Hobby,
like
yeah, hobby, hobby.
okay. Well, like one of the questions I always ask on my show, like when I on Coexisting After Dark, is I always ask somebody like about the last movie they watched. I'm a huge movie buff, film, television series. Uh, I love I love binge watching like
Mm.
TV series. I just love it. And so I always like to find out the last movie people watched because sometimes you get some really interesting things.
Mm.
Lately, it's always been, for the most part, newer stuff, but occasionally you'll get somebody that just says something you're not expecting. Uh, and it's just fun to hear that, like that when you get that one person that just you're not expecting an answer. Like we haven't had one yet, but I'm one day somebody will probably say a John Wayne movie, and I'm not like expecting it. I just like knowing like it's like a mystery question for me. So I love
Yeah.
movies. I love film and TV series. Um, I play video games, but I don't get attached to them like I used to. I mean, I used to be competitive in them.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to make pretty good coin on it. I used to make money playing uh, hockey games online, and I was on a Rainbow Six team for a while. And then I just kind of got out of it uh, because different people from our team for Rainbow Six kind of just moved on, and it was one of those things where I didn't want to continue like trying to find teams to make money with. So
Mm.
I just quit playing, and that was that. And so I my video game love has gone down a little bit, but so movies, film, video games, I really enjoy writing. I I do have a goal that one day I hope to have my own book out. Um, it's I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Sicario,
Yeah,
but it's something very not similar. I mean, it kind of takes place in that kind of world, I'd say, not necessarily those characters, but just a dark type world, and it doesn't really have much to do with drugs, but it has that dark feel to it, and it's different crimes. I mean, so it's something like that. Just that's the goal. Like
sounds very cool.
eventually, yeah, I like it. So
Yeah.
it's been fun. But those are probably my biggest three hobbies.
You brought up earlier, and I should have followed up with this question, but like you brought up earlier the Fightful watch alongs and stuff like that when it comes to wrestling. Who do you love watching wrestling with?
Well, ever since I started getting again when I started getting paid, I don't let me rephrase this. I love watching wrestling with the person I work out with. His name's Jeff. I love watching wrestling with him because we just watch it. We're not talking about the stuff behind the scenes. He doesn't ask me about rumors and stuff. We're just watching as fans,
Mm,
and I love that. Um, so that's probably my favorite um person to watch. Otherwise, like other than that, I just watch by myself. I just have really no desire to like go out and watch it like get somewhere else. Like I watch it at home because I can chill out online and
yeah,
watch it. And usually the people I'm closest to that watch wrestling are all on Twitter. I mean, I know that kind of in a way seems I don't look at it that way, but I know some people might look at it like that way that they might look at it sad, but I don't because
no, I don't either
um
because I'm exactly the
I
same.
mean yeah, I would rather talk to people that I know love it. Like I'll if Maggie's watching a show like live. I mean, she has an 8 hour time difference usually. I mean, right now with daylight savings time, it's different, but we'll if she's watching a show live, we'll chat back and forth. And there's guys like Chris Moeller or Mueller, um, where we talk during shows, and I really enjoy that. I can't have those conversations with a lot of my friends because they don't watch shows like Ring of Honor or SmackDown on Fridays because they got other things they want to do. Like
Yeah,
my idea of a fun Friday night is staying home and watch SmackDown. That's me instead of going out to the bars with other people. That's just what I would do, or I prefer to do.
I understand completely, my friend. So, what's the show that you're currently like? I know you said since you get paid, you're like, don't pick a side, but what's the show? Say you've got a week off from Fightful content or something, or you weren't involved in the media. What's the show currently? You're like, I love this, and I would be picking up on this every week.
It's really hard like to say. It would probably be a uh I'll be completely honest with you. It'd be a three-way tie between Dynamite, Raw, and SmackDown. I'm real like anytime on the way up to between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, those are some of my favorite Raws because they're leading up to
Mm,
WrestleMania. So those are always really good. Um, and Dynamite's always been pretty solid. Like you're gonna get a good Dynamite show for the most part every week. I mean, they had a miss a couple of weeks ago when they were down south in Texas, but you know, I'll take a show that I didn't really care for, like out of like for every 30 shows they have, having one or two that weren't that great
mm.
good is good because like I said, I covered Raw during the pandemic, so I can watch a lot of wrestling. I can deal with a lot. So that would be what I would say. But I know that's a crappy answer, but like that's
It's
the way
not though.
I feel like I know if I miss like watching AEW, like if I was to miss Dynamite last night and not watch it at all, I would feel kind of like lost without it. I know that I would feel the same way about Raw, like if I didn't watch Raw, and um and like AEW Dynamite and SmackDown. It's just the way it is right now. Um, I do really enjoy on the weekend when I have shows and I don't have anything going on. I'm really watching GCW and New Japan shows.
Ooh.
Um, so I'll watch New Japan. I even watch Stardom, like I said earlier. So I'll just watch what I can. And um, but my favorites pretty much right now is WWE and SmackDown, or WWE and AEW. Rampage has been a draw, disappointing for me, but oh well.
Hmm. Fair enough. And then as we wrap this up, we'll do the what are three things from the current product of wrestling that you love?
Ooh, good question. I love the atmosphere at live shows that I've seen. I've been to 3 live shows since the pandemic, and I love the atmosphere. I love seeing it on TV. Last night, I don't know if you watched Dynamite yet, but last night
I
watching
haven't,
the
unfortunately.
okay, without giving anything away, the crowd was just fantastic last night. I
Mm,
love watching good crowds because they help make the show even better. They do. People don't notice that, but when a crowd's on fire, the show gets better because you're using that emotion. You're seeing emotion from the fans, which gives you emotion in return. So when I
mm,
see that, that makes me pretty happy because I know how much work they put in, and I would say that's the case in this one.
hmm. Two other things.
Um, the athleticism of these wrestlers that you see now. Um, I look at the trios match from last night, just seeing how you had nine
Mm,
very great wrestlers last night wrestling, and those are all guys I would pay money to see. And it was it was just so good. It was just so great, and seeing Kenny Omega, having Kenny Omega wrestling right now is a blessing. Um, he's just outstanding.
mm,
Um, so I'd say like Kenny Omega, you're just my favorite wrestlers like Kenny Omega, AJ Styles. Granted he's hurt, but AJ Styles, like I'll go out of my way to watch his matches. Um, yeah,
hmm. And then as we wrap this up, my friend, the question I'm going to end this show on is no matter what will you always love about wrestling?
you know, it's the moments, like those moments where the that you get the goosebumps, like when The Rock came back,
Mm,
when the Hardy Boys returned at WrestleMania 36, I want to say, in Orlando. I could be wrong on the number. They just, after a while, they just kind of
blend.
blend in. So
Mm,
when the Hardys returned to WWE and that music went off and the New Day introduced them, that was a moment. Seeing, I was at an AEW show last year, the Quake at the Lake in
mm,
Minneapolis, and um, seeing CM Punk return. That was the first show we did, like for first time in I think close to a couple weeks or month. Wasn't really expecting them to come out at all, and that's where they started the setup for um, All Out. So between Moxley and Punk, so that's where it started at, and being able to see that was pretty cool.
that's really cool. So as we wrap this up, Rob, obviously I want to say thank you for being the first guest on Loving Wrestling. Where can the good people find you and do your content for Fightful?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me at Rob Wilkins on Twitter. Every Friday, I do a show called Coexisting with Rob and Maggie right here on Fightful Overbooked. It's a blast. We usually go an hour and a half, but we've been known to go over. We just have a great time. And it's an hour and a half every week at Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And then we move over to Fightful Select for a recorded interview. Tom's been a guest on there. So from
Mhm.
5 to usually 6 p.m. on Fightful Select, we have a pre-recorded interview, and it's usually not all about wrestling. Lately, it has been. just doing different things right now.
So as we wrap this up, guys, obviously I want to say thank you for you all for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Fightful Overbooked if you like this, and follow me on Twitter @TomTalkTrash. And I will see you in the next episode. A goodbye now.